Alright guys, we have a Cyber Dragon going second deck here for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first and foremost, and I think most obvious, we're going to play 3 Cyber Dragon. And now what you guys will see as we kind of go through this list is that it's very, very similar to my going first list as far as the monster lineup. What's primarily going to change is some of the hand trappy cards and some of the extra deck cards. So just keep that in mind as we keep going through here. The next monster we're going to play is 3 Cyber Dragon Core. And then we're going to play 3 Cyber Dragon Herds. And we're going to play 3 Galaxy Soldier. These are all the same play starters, the same combos that are enabled from my previous list. So check that out. If you want to see any of the combos or anything in there, you know, I kind of talk about how if you're going second, you can steal your opponents' monsters and things like that. So that's kind of the idea here, is that Cydra is a great going second deck because cards like Cyber Dragon Infinity can steal your opponent's monsters. Cards like the Chimera Text can contact fuse using your opponent's monsters. And then cards like Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon can just end turns or end games on their first turn after being summoned out. On top of that, this deck can just pump out Dragoon real easy. So you can just pop out Dragoon. But in order to do that, we have to play other cards to facilitate that. Rather than trying to build up a board full of negates, we have to build up cards to break boards. So we'll get that here in a second. The last Cyber Dragon monster we're going to play is Cyber Dragon Naxter. As far as the Cyber Dragon spells, or I guess you could say machine spells, is 3 Machine Duplication and 3 Cyber Emergency. I think those are pretty standard for a Cyber Dragon deck. I don't see how you could play Cyber Dragons without these cards. They just help you get everything you could possibly need. Now, on top of that, we have a bunch of one-of spells and traps. We have Cybernetic Overflow. Have to play that. That trap is amazing. Overload Fusion, Cyberload Fusion. If you want, you could possibly play one of each, but especially designing a deck for going second, Cyberload Fusion is pretty nice because it's a quick effect. And on top of that, it's also you can also, you know, start dumping cards to your field, break your opponent's board, and then summon monsters on their turn. And the last 3 are kind of more extenders. We have Monster Reborn and Cyber Rev System. Cyber Rev System is just Monster Reborn for Cyber Dragons. Plus, it can't be destroyed by card effects if you summon it with Cyber Rev System, which is just super strong, honestly, in my opinion. I don't think that it doesn't always come up, but it comes up enough that having the one-of is pretty nice. And then the last one is Cyber Repair Plant. All of these one-ofs are just nice when you see them, but aren't requirements for the deck to be successful, which is why I play them in one. The last thing I'll show here is Red Eyes Fusion and Dragoon and Red Eyes Be Dragon. Obviously, gotta play the Dragoon package. There's not a blowout monster in here like there is in some other decks, so we use Dragoon as our blowout monster. So now what I want to get into is more of what makes this deck a going second deck, and that's going to be the hand trap kind of lineup here, as well as the extra deck lineup. So first and foremost, we're going to play 3 Ash because it's the most generic hand trap ever and can hit just about everything. So getting that in your hand is always nice to see. As far as another hand trap we're going to play, we're going to play 3 Nibiru. because a lot of the decks right now, I mean, a lot of people are prepared to play around Nibiru, so it's one of those cards that people respect. But if they overextend once, boom, Nibiru. If you're playing a big combo deck like Dragon Link, boom, Nibiru. And then this deck can handle Nibiru without the negates and things. So having the Nibiru in there helps this deck play around combo decks. That being said, if you play your first round and you draw into 2 Nibiru and you're playing Shaddoll Invoked, side them out. Side them out for basically anything else. There's tons of high impact hand traps. You could even play something like Evenly Matched is an interesting idea for this type of deck, especially if you end up going first kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. There's other options for that, but I find that especially picking to go second, having Nibiru is incredibly helpful for this build. Now the 6 cards that I'm going to go over here last are probably the most fundamental going second cards for the deck. The first being Dark Roller No More. This could probably also be Forbidden Droplets. I just don't have it because I don't want to pay $300 for a playset of cards. But that being said, Dark Roller No More is still pretty strong. It at a minimum forces out your opponent's negate, because if they can't negate it, you're good to go. If they can negate it, they have to negate it, or else you're going to be good to go. So at a minimum, you're going to burn your opponent's spell negate, or you're going to be totally solid on building up your board and wiping them clean. And the last thing is the Star Destroying Kaiju. Now a lot of people have been playing Kaijus to get around Dragoon. This isn't just to get around Dragoon. With the Chimera techs in your extra deck, having the Machine Kaiju turns any of your monsters into free fusion material for Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. That being said, if you are playing a going second deck and you're playing a deck that plays the Barrier Statue of Torrent lockout, you can always side into Gardala instead, which is what I had originally actually, but it's an insect, it's not a machine. And it doesn't go in the extra monster zone. So since it's not in the extra monster zone, you can't use Mega Fleet, sorry. And since it's not a machine, you can't use Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. So there isn't an easy way to turn Gardala on your opponent's field into instant advantage on your field. Whereas with Jizukiru, you can have literally any monster on your opponent's board, swap it out for the Jizukiru, and then immediately contact fuse that away into a Fortress Dragon with a Cyber Dragon on your field, which is more than most likely going to happen since you play 10 Cyber Dragons, essentially, with the core, the Hers, the Cyber Dragon, the Cydra itself, and the Nexter. And then on top of that, you play all the search spells too. So that being said, this card makes Cyber Dragons an incredible going second deck. And then we combine that with stuff in the extra deck, and it's just honestly like a blowout. So let's jump into the extra deck. I'll kind of go over some of the pretty typical stuff that's in here, and then kind of talk about the going second cards as well. And I think that there's like a handful of going second specific cards. So first and foremost, we play Dragoon, Zeus, Gaia, and we also play 2 Nova, 2 Infinity, and 2 Rampage Dragon. I think these are the right ratios for everything. These can come up multiple times per turn, all as well as being able to get multiples of them out. So I think that these are the right ratios to play of those. I think in general, your goal is to get out Dragoon, Zeus, and Rampage Dragon, and all the other cards are kind of intermediate steps. But that being said, your intermediate steps aren't that bad either. Nova and Infinity are actually pretty good cards on their own. So just keep that in mind, that like getting stuck on an Infinity isn't inherently bad. So we have 6 cards left for the extra deck. First and foremost, we have Almirage and Leg Spider. The reason for Almirage is if you have a like a Cydra or goodness, a core or a hers, you can link those away, get them in the graveyard, and have the Almirage on field instead. And then you... I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my camera there, but it just stopped recording after I got to Almirage. Luckily, there's only about 4 cards left, so I'm just going to quickly go over those 4 cards here at the end, and that way you have the whole deck for you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the last couple cards here. I believe before I had said about Almirage and Link Spider and being able to use those to facilitate getting into other cards. One big thing is that you can use Link Spider to link away the normal monster token from Nibiru into a monster that has an effect. That way you can get into cards like Generator Transverser, which you can see on the left here, which requires 2 effect monsters. So that's really why you have Link Spider in there, is to just switch things up so that way you're able to get into other cards. So what I want to talk about here are Generator Transverser and Anima are very similar conceptually, but their applications are obviously different. The interesting thing about both cards is they steal your opponent's monsters based on what zone they're pointing to. Anima you can only really get into using hers. It's the only level 1 monster in your deck. But hers comes up pretty organically. It comes up, you play 3 of it, so it comes up pretty often. And on top of that, you can also search it with things like Cyber Emergency. So, you can actually get into Anima more often than you would think, with hers being your only level 1. On top of that, you can always use Generator Transverser to steal your opponent's monsters. And going second, stealing your opponent's monsters is incredibly overpowered. I think people don't often think of it that way, but stealing your opponent's monsters are overpowered in general, but going second in particular, it just helps break the board. And if you can turn your opponent's advantage immediately into your advantage, you can just go off to the races and do great things in that duel. And that being said, the Chimera techs offer that option in the form of Fortress Dragon and Mega Fleet. If your opponent summons a monster to the extra monster zone, boom, Chimera Tech Mega Fleet's just gonna swipe it. Furthermore, with Jizukiru, you can turn any of your opponent's monsters at any point into a machine and steal it with Fortress Dragon. So with these 4 extra deck monsters in your deck, you have a strong basis for going second. I've actually considered dropping a Rampage Dragon for another Fortress Dragon or another Mega Fleet, depending on which one I tested out and which one was better. But I think Rampage overall comes up more often because of Overload Fusion and Cyberload Fusion, and with the combos and things, like I think that card comes up as your OTK enabler more frequently. Mega Fleet and Fortress are just there to come in and break your opponent's board real quick, and then once you have them on board, if you don't have enough materials to give them super high attack or anything like that, you can always link them off into something else. An absolutely insane example would be if you had the cards, you were able to get 2 Cyber Dragons out, and what you're able to do, and you have a Jizukiru in hand, is what you're able to do is activate Jizukiru. Say your opponent has a Link monster in the extra monster zone and Dragoon in their main monster zone. and they let the 2 Cyber Dragons go, thinking, you know, I'm okay. And then you Jizakira the Dragoon and stop their negate and get a machine on their board. Then you can contact fuse the Jizakira and one of your Cyber Dragons into Fortress Dragon, and then on top of that, contact fuse the other Cyber Dragon and the Link Monster into Mega Fleet. And all of a sudden, you've turned their insane Dragoon's an absolute insane advantage. So being able to turn their absolute insane 2-card advantage into your 2-card advantage is bonkers. And then on top of that, say they have like a 3rd monster in a zone that Geonator Transverser can just happen to access, you can always link Fortress Dragon Mega Fleet into something like Transverser or something like Perplant Vert Anaconda, and then go into your own Dragoon, or you know, swipe their 3rd monster with Transverser or something similar. On top of that, if you have more extenders, you know, you have Monster Reborn or Rev System, you have more Searchers, you have Machine Duplication or something like that, you can just go absolutely bonkers, stealing your opponent's monsters, linking things away, building up your own resources. And that's why I think Cydra is such a good going second deck right now in particular. If Dragoon goes away, I think that this deck will still be a very good going second deck. I think that it will have to establish essentially a new win condition. I think it'll be based more on link summoning into something like Boral Sword or Access Code rather than fusion summoning. But you could also just take out, if you just take out Anaconda, or you can even leave Anaconda in as long as it doesn't get banned, so that way you can go into Overload Fusion or something like that. But if you say you just take out Dragoon, you could always put in another Chimera Tech, either Fortress or Mega Fleet. You could always put in another Rampage Dragon as well if you really think you can go into 3 of those. There's lots of options with Cydra, and I'm very excited about the upcoming structure deck. I'm very interested to see how that plays in with the build that I have now, and to see how I can, you know, use those new cards as well as, you know, the Cyber Dark Engine itself in this deck. I love Cyber Dragons. They're my favorite archetype, I think. So I'm definitely hoping to pick up 3 of those structure decks. Let's hope that TCG reprints are just as good as the OCG reprints, but not getting my hopes up too high. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked the deck profile. Sorry again for the technical difficulty. I don't know what happened there. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.